Welcome, beautiful people, to the third annual Black Future Month. Thank y'all for joining us. So we started Black Future Month just to really put some positivity into our community because back in 2000 and I think it was 16, there was this crazy statistic that said by the year 2053, the median Black family wealth was going to go to zero. So automatically we were like, what can we do as a community, grassroots, small, right? What can we do to kind of fight against that future that they want us to see? How can we help bring Black families together, bring intellectuals together to talk about health, talk about wealth, talk about love, and talking about building a strong community for us? So Black Future Month is largely sponsored by IMI, or the Institute of Melanated Innovation, which has two specific goals. One, to increase access to Black study courses and experiences for our K through 12 youth and community members, and two, to serve as a think tank and research center focused on solving the problems and improving the life within our Black community. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and proud to be the director of community and curriculum development for IMI. If you are interested in joining the team or having your scholar be a part of IMI, we have three main components. Number one is we have on-demand courses that are available on our website, imifoundation.com, anywhere from Black history, finances, women empowerment. We also have free live events just like this, as well as educational experiences where we're taking students to places like Tulsa's Black Wall Street to learn. And then in the near future, we will have incubator and accelerator programs to help our students take their brilliant ideas and turn them into a reality. Again, if you want to join, head to imifoundation.com. We got 3 memberships ready for you and for your scholars to empower their future. The number one is the IMI All Access Pass, which gets you access to everything, the on-demand courses, the live courses, the educational experiences, and more. We have Play Black Wall Street Academy if you want to really zoom in on entrepreneurship, Black Wall Street, finances. That's going to be a really good one. And then if you just want, a little bit of Black history in different areas, some Black history, some finances, some women empowerment, but not the complete course, you can also check out the Black Study snacks that we have available. Now, the main reason why you're here is for the Black History Month Roundtable, where we bring together community members, experts, families, and friends to just talk about things that we need to talk about in the community to create our best future. We have 4 roundtables set up. We have the Black Health, we have the Black Education Roundtable. Sorry, let me backtrack. We have Black Health, which is sponsored by and led by Queen to Queen Health Coaching. We got Sinclair, the health nerd, that's about to lead that. We have Black Education, which is going to be led by Dr. Banks from 3BD Consulting. We got Black Wealth Roundtable, Securing the Bag, which is going to be led by Josiah Greer from the FYB Fire Your Boss team. And then, of course, we got to talk about Black love and the Black family and Black friends. And that's going to be sponsored by the M4 Show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making. All right. So welcome again to the roundtable. Please make sure in the comments you go ahead and you put your city, rep where you're from. Make sure you put any questions or comments that you have about the topic that we're talking about today. And of course, help us get this message, get these frequencies out to more people. Like and share the video. All right. You ready? Now, let's get into the round table. Let's bring up our folks. There we go. Yes, the dancing queen, the yoga dude. So again, we got Sinclair, the health nerd, about to kick us off from queen to queen. And also joining us is James, aka that yoga dude. Passing it off to y'all.
Thank you, King. Thank you. And welcome to Black Future Month. This is the Black Health Roundtable. My name is Sinclair Walker. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. That's a mouthful to just say I'm a holistic and functional health coach. And my goal is to help women, Black people in general, but specifically my focus right now is to help Black women take a proactive approach to their health. Unfortunately, when we look at a lot of the statistics, our community, we're high up there on the list for just about every, health disparity out there. So my goal is to change that. We can change that. We can start to, change the outlook, the perspective of health, how we see health, how we pass health on to the generations, to come. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to be kind of our panelist. We're going to have a very intimate interview here with Mr. James here. And so I'm going to pass it over to James and let him introduce himself. And then we're going to dive into some really great information, some really great conversation about Black health, why we're even talking about it, and how we can change the future and improve our future for the Black future in terms of Black health. So pass it over to Mr. James.
Black Future, what's going on? It's James Woods, aka that yoga dude with Feel Free to Feel Free. I am a marriage and family therapist and a certified yoga instructor. So I basically take the ancient wellness and holistic practice of yoga and I help you get started on your journey to deal with these modern problems that you're going through. So we love bringing what we found in the past to work to the future, especially talking about the future now, to help you deal with whatever you're going through in your life and the health aspects. So we know meditation, mindfulness, and the yoga practice is a beneficial thing. The studies is out there. It's been something that has been hidden in plain sight for many years. So I'm just here to help you get you started on your journey to your wellness practice.
I love it. I love it. Already touching on some things we can jump right into. But before we jump into the juicy stuff, right? You mentioned meditation, which I want to talk about. You mentioned yoga. I want to talk about all of those things. But let's take a step back because I think it's important when we even say the word health that we're all talking about the same thing, and that, like, what are we actually talking about when we say the word health? So let me pass it over to you and see what, when you say health, what do you mean? What is health to you? Why is it important to you?
Health is a way of living and it's a way of functioning. Health is, and I think about this because I just had a conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine, and he was talking about his focus when he was coming up was on his financial health, which is one aspect of it, which
Hmm.
a lot of time, a lot of us, especially coming from communities and neighborhoods where we didn't have that financial health. And now he's saying he's paying, using his financial health to build his other health, his relational health, his mental health, his physical health. So when I speak about health, I'm speaking about the whole thing. I heard you, Devon, earlier talking about securing the bag. Well, what's really in that bag? Is more than money, is more than coins, is more than Bitcoin, any kind of currency. Health to me is how we navigate this world while we're here. So are you going to navigate it in a body where you're comfortable going on a hike? Are you going to navigate it in a relationship where you're comfortable having a conversation with your partner and with your friends? Are you going to navigate it in a body that's full of toxins or a community that's full of toxins? So to me, health is just your indication of how you are properly navigating in this world as a body, as a mind and a spirit while we are temporarily here.
Yes, I love that. I love that, you're talking very holistically. Like you said, like the bag, it's not just money in the bag. There's not just, coins. There's not just any one thing in the bag. Because when you think about health, like we are one being, right? So I think it's important for us to think about ourselves holistically when we're thinking about well-being, when we're thinking about health. Like you said, like there's financial health, there's mental health, there's your physical health. All of these things, I think sometimes we can segregate them, but at the end of the day, they're all us, right? They all come into play and interact with each other to create who we are and our existence in this world.
Right.
And I think that it's just it's to me it's the absolute it's like the basic foundation of life. If
It
you
is.
like, that's like the best way I can probably put it, because to me, like, if you don't have health, it's unfortunate that I think a lot of people realize this once they lose their health and they realize how important it is.
Right.
That if you don't have good health, everything else loses importance, right? If you're
Hmm.
not able to physically just feel good just being, then
Hmm.
nothing else really matters.
Right.
Money doesn't matter, your relationships, nothing else matters if you don't feel good in the skin that you're in. So I think that it's just such a basic foundation that, we need to be proactive about. We need to make sure that we are actively doing things on a daily basis to foster this body that we've been given so
Right.
that we can be our best selves, so that we can go out and, be a contributing member of society, so that we can be the best mother, father, sister, brother, whoever you are to the people around you, so that
Right.
you can fulfill your purpose, right? So that you can feel like you have a purpose and that you're fulfilling it here on this planet. I feel like that basic like waking up and feeling good is like the foundation for everything else that comes after it. So that's
100%.
kind of my spiel on the importance of health. I think that it's everything. It's everything.
And just like you said, being a contributing member of society, but especially for Black folks, where society didn't value us in our health,
Mm.
except for the parts that contributed to their economics. I need you to be strong. I need you to be able to go and do this job. So I don't care how you feel. I don't care about your relationships. I don't care about your internal health as long as it can get the job done. So as you said, us being proactive is us really building, catching up and catching
Yes.
up and understanding that the systems and the communities that we are building, that is where the value of health really needs to be placed on. So, in terms of us trying to secure health, looking and comparing to what the outside systems and stuff wants to value our health at, that's always going to be a catch-up game. We have to look like this. We're supposed to have these type of things and feel this type of way and think this type of way. That'll have us crazy. That'll have us skinny. That'll have us whatever and chasing all these other things. So it's so important that y'all are doing this where we're focusing on the Black future and putting together communities and validating systems for us that is really considering who we are as a whole person, not just a cog in the machine.
Yep. Yep. Can you have anything to add?
So one of the quotes that's sticking out to me that James said was, "We have to secure the bag, but we have to think what's in that bag."
Mm.
Right? And fortunately, unfortunately, we've been doing a lot of traveling these past few weeks, and every place that we go, the bag's different, right? What we put in that bag, depending on where we're going. Do I need a jacket? What kind of shoes do I need? Do I need cocoa butter, beard oil? Right? The
Mhm.
bag is going to maybe change from time to
Mhm.
time. I think health and what is considered healthy is going to change depending on what your environment is, what time you're living in, what function your body and your mind's going to have in the environment, right? So I think 500 years ago, money wasn't something that you needed in that bag, right?
Mhm.
500 years ago, 600 years ago, when I was in Africa, my ancestors was in Africa, a jacket maybe isn't something that I needed in that bag,
Right.
right? But zooming now to today, money is something that I need. Maybe multiple languages is something that I need. A laptop technology is something that I need. Um, kind of disconnection from technology is also something that I need. So I think health and what's in that bag, as James said, changes for each person depending on what environment they're in and where they are in their life as well.
I think,
Absolutely.
and I think as long as you put that dashiki in the bag, you can send it to me.
That's definitely something in the bag. But I think you bring
Oh,
up a great point on like even when we think about health, I don't think it is a thing. I don't think it is a destination. I think
Mhm.
it's a journey. I think it's a mindset. Like you're saying, like your whatever you need right now for your health, for your well-being may not
Mhm.
be what you need a year from now. Right?
Right.
For me, right now, we're a married couple, living in wherever we are right now. In 5 years, we're going to have some children. Our well-being is going to look a lot different, I'm sure, right? Our mindsets, everything's going to look different. Everything changes with your environment, with your just the current state of your life. So I think health is that the mindset of just trying to be the best and focusing on making sure that you're fostering that well-being in every situation, whatever that looks like, right? So
Mhm.
whether it's okay, well today I gotta, today's about the kids, so I gotta put my kids first, and tomorrow's my self-care day, right? Those routines are going to look different. A lot of things are going to look different depending on the day, depending on what you got going on. So I think it's just about being agile and making sure that you are adapting with life, not not being so rigid. I think finding what works for you is great, but also allowing for that flexibility to flow with life and allowing for your mind to change, allowing for your routine to change, allowing for the way you eat, the way you meditate, the way you sleep, the way you think, the way you do everything to change with life and with, the different struggles, the different trials, the different tribulations, the different accomplishments, the different upgrades, whatever, are going to come. I think it's important to also be flexible and not be, super rigid. That's something that I can be very honest say that I struggle with, but I think it's something that is also important. I think when we're thinking about well-being is that flexibility to go along with life as it comes. Um, yeah.
I, I definitely get it. I can struggle with that too. I was talking last weekend to a track coach at a high school, and I was asking her like, okay, students are getting faster, right? There, people are just moving faster, and she said people are getting faster in sports and as athletics because the recovery time is getting shorter. So
Mm.
people being able to recover from hard workouts, being able to recover from mistakes, being able to recover from injuries is getting shorter. So if you are able to recover from your mistakes, if you're able to be more agile and get back to practice and get back to your routine, get back to what you're doing instead of just falling all the way off and then, oh man, I'm down on myself, I'm this and this. So as you said, it's such an important part of health to be able to fall off of what you're doing or to adjust, to be agile, to think about how I can do it in a different way so you can recover and then get back to moving forward, get back to the process. So I think it's all about how can I get to the back to the process of being healthy, thinking about healthiness and having that in my mind, because that's when you start moving faster, when you get back to getting into those workouts and stuff. And that really helped me to think about the process of what it really is. It's more about the recovery than it is sometimes
That's
about the performance, you know. So I agree.
You know what's interesting? As you said that, I thought about the connection to meditation with that
Mhm.
in terms of the ability, like, so for me, and I think for a lot of people, when we hear about meditation, even the word meditation, I feel like everybody just thinks your mind just has to go quiet and there should be
Right.
nothing in your mind. And if there's anything in your mind, you're failing at meditation. When in actuality, right, a lot of it is the ability to let your mind go, but then bring it back, right? It's not so much that you should never have thoughts in your brain, but it's how quickly can you come back to that center, to your focus, to whatever, that activity is in the moment. So I think to your point on the like the recovery time, right? That's
Mhm.
almost how you get, and at least, and you're the expert here on the yoga meditation side, so I'll defer to you. But at least from my research on on meditation and my practice with meditation as well, is for me getting better and getting more comfortable with meditation is the ability to come back after those thoughts come. My mind may wander a little bit. When I started out, it would be wandering for a minute or so before I'm like, oh wait, okay, come back, go back to the breathing. Now it's maybe a couple seconds, and that's how I feel like, okay, I'm getting a little bit better at staying focused and staying present in the moment. So I wanted to bring that over to you and say, like, is that something that you would agree with in terms of, like, how does one get better at meditation?
100%. I think initial people think that meditation, as soon as you get on the mat, is just going to wipe out your thoughts. You're going to become this Zen meditation monk and you're going to be levitating. Whenever I talk about meditation, with kids, they automatically just and do all that. And it's just that regular practice of coming back to yourself. And that is just a reflection of life. We get distracted, we get taken away from ourselves on this every second. There's a commercial, there's an ad, there's somebody else, there's a thought, there's a song pops up in our head. But when we're able to come back to ourself, it's that recovery. Because when we are in ourself, we're in that present moment and we can move forward and we can really make a decision based on our needs for health, not just our needs for whatever is distracting us in that moment, that feeling or that sensation or that desire or whatever. So being able to meditate is just about building that recovery program to come back to yourself, and then you can continue to progress and perform even better and better and better. It takes time.
Definitely. Definitely. King, you got anything you want to add, or should I move on? Good. Okay. So talking about meditation, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is one of the I think the reasons that a lot of people are drawn to meditation or even hear about meditation is to combat stress, right? Is to help manage their stress. So I think that even the word stress can be triggering, right? We all dealing with it, and I think that even especially in present day society, when we're in a global pandemic still, like, it's almost like a collective stress that we're all going through right now, on top of our individual stressors, individual lives that we're having to lead. But I think stress should never be left out of the conversation of health, in my opinion, and well-being, because it is such a part of the conversation. It is, I don't want to demonize stress, because the stress in itself is not bad, right? But excessive stress, right? Constant stress that a lot of us are living in today's society. That's when
Mhm.
it becomes really negative and harmful to the body. But before I go on my soapbox, I wanted to bring it to the group, right? For you all, for you two, how does stress connect to health? How does health connect to stress?
I'm gonna hop in.
Yeah,
Hop in, hop
you
in.
got it.
Man, for me, stress connects more directly to like my habits and how I react to things. I feel like when I'm not stressed, I'm healthy. I'm waking up, James. I'm doing my yoga. I got
Mhm.
my tuning fork. I'm listening to my tuning fork. The queen got me some gems and some crystals. I'm meditating with my crystals. I'm going to the gym. I'm watching what I eat. When I'm not stressed, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I can stick to my habits. When I get stressed, when I get overwhelmed,
Mhm.
I either seek, I think, comfort in other things, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's in TV, whether it's in unhealthy food, like I seek
Mhm.
comfort in other things, and I fall off of my daily habits,
I
and
see.
I feel a very stark difference from a week long of meditation and working out. Like I feel so much energy and I feel calm and grounded than a week where I'm not doing that. I'm waking up late. I'm watching extra TV and like my focus decreases. So yeah, for me, stress more directly affects my habits, which it then affects my health. And I know y'all will talk about the science part of like how stress impacts things, but for me, it really just messes with my behavior and my habits.
Yeah. That's real. So my brain is programmed for stressing certain things. I just remember coming up in school. Okay, I'm stressing on how I look. I'm stressing about my grades. I'm stressing what my mama gonna say, what my daddy gonna say, what the homies gonna say. So my brain is still wired for stress in certain different ways to move me forward. But through these meditative practices, through learning more, I'm rewiring my stress to be more progressive for my needs, if that makes sense. So if I'm if I don't have a certain level of stress, then I become a little bit anxious. Man, I ain't doing nothing. I'm just chilling. I need to have this, I need to have that. That becomes more anxious and anxiety for me if I don't have a certain level of am I growing? Am I learning more? Am I challenging myself? I ain't nothing. That's still a part of my brain that I'm working on. So my morning routine, my evening routine, my daily routine is trying to find that equilibrium on the amount of stress that's going to move me forward, but not overwhelm me. Because I love living in this world and facing new challenges. I love growing as a person. I love growing on a leader. I love trying to allow myself to experience more of who I am. Stress pulls out a lot of good stuff in me that would lay dormant if it wasn't for the stress. But if it is, like you said, Devon, if it's too much, then I'm gonna shut down. If it's too much, then I can't handle it. This is outside of me. Blah 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 blah. I start going into that program. So it's just like adding a little bit more and more and a little bit more and more into the mix. You know, it's like you cooking something and you just want to add a little bit because if you add too much, um, I went to school in New Orleans, so I see people making gumbo. So you got to add a little bit to make the root, the little bottom part,
Mm-hmm.
gumbo
Mm-hmm.
like
The
that.
science.
Yeah, it's a science to it. So just me having a practice of like, okay, I want to read these books. I can't read the whole book in a day, but let me read a little bit at a time. I can't meditate for 10 hours straight. Let me just meditate for a couple of minutes because I know I want stress because I've seen what stress produces, but I can't let stress break me down. So it's always just finding that equal parts water, equal parts oil, equal parts flour to bake me something up good real quick, something vegan too.
Yeah. And you said something that I know the king resonates with. And that's the like almost like the base level of stress that you need to be able to feel like you are, moving forward, right? And I know that that's something that, that we bump heads with a little bit because especially like when we're on vacation. I'm like,
I tell you.
that's like zero stress zone for me. I'm like, I
Yeah.
want it at a zero, negative if possible. But he, he's like, he always just wants to be doing something. Like even on vacation, he's like, okay, let me make sure I'm growing. Let me make sure I'm getting some work done. So like we've compromised where he's got like a curfew. I'll give you till like 10, 11 a.m. You can wake up at whatever time you want, get whatever you need to get done, and then the rest of the day you're mine.
Yeah, that's
But
real.
I think that that's so interesting, and I think there's a lot of societal, cultural, historic things that go into play on why that is the case. Like
Hmm.
that there's for a lot of folks, there is some need for, basically like there's a like you said, there's a level of anxiety when there's nothing. Like when there's no stress, there's no growth, there's no because I mean stress is really just like um coming out of that like homeostasis, if you will, like anything that pulls your body out of that homeostasis, that comfort, that like that safety, anything that pulls you from that can be considered stress. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so interesting that for our community specifically, I can only speak for, excuse me, for the couple of people I know, Devon, we've had this conversation, but I do think that is something that is, I won't say only our community deals with, would never say that, but I do think that it's something that is prevalent, highly prevalent in our community, in the Black community, where there's a little level of anxiety when there's absolutely no stress. And I think that, you know, we've had the conversation, Devon, on like whether that is a is that something that needs to change, or is that something that is okay because that's what keeps us growing and thriving? What are your thoughts on that? Is that something
Tag
like,
me in, coach.
okay, okay, go ahead, go ahead, go
Tag,
ahead.
tag me in. But first, yeah, the vacation thing, like I still struggle and I'm trying to get better. But yeah, when I'm just chilling on vacation doing nothing,
Hmm.
I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like I need to be working. I feel like I need to be producing. And I think that comes from multiple things. One, I'm gonna go way back to post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? And it's a theory that, based on the stress, the cruelty, and the violence that our ancestors were able to survive throughout slavery, they've passed down stress and they've passed down that trauma through DNA, through epigenetics to us. And there's certain behaviors that we do, and there's certain, I think, talking to what James and Sinclair said, there's a threshold of stress that we've inherited because our ancestors had to survive so much stress. And if you couldn't survive stress, if you couldn't survive the salt in the ocean water, which people who had high blood pressure were able to survive because of the salt, right? They survived, so now high blood pressure is elevated. If you were unable to survive the violence and the stress, which is going to give you, right, heart disease, or your heart's going to be a little bit faster. So that's why heart disease, in my opinion, of course diet comes into it as well. That's why those heart diseases are a little bit more prevalent within our community. So there's things that were passed down to us based on survival, right? Number two, I think, stereotypically, I don't want to be that lazy Black man that doesn't work.
For real.
Feel me, James? Like that's a stereotype that was put on us. How? Don't know, because we've been some of the hardest working people in American history ever. But somehow there's the stereotype that you're a lazy Black man. You can't get a job. You can't work. You can't provide for your family. All that stuff. So when I'm on vacation, even though it took hard work to get on that vacation, I'm still like, I need to be doing something. I need to
Right.
be producing. I can't be that lazy Black man. Right.
Right.
So for me, it's those two things. It's one, it's the epigenetic level, it's the stress that's been passed on. But then two, for me, is also that society, as I grew up thinking and knowing that I had to be that productive Black man.
Right. 100%, man. Growing up with Jay-Z and Diddy and all the moguls and entrepreneurs telling you, like, okay, we finally have this opportunity to do these things. You better get up and go do it, go get it. And you got the Nipsey beard, rest in peace, Nipsey, and the ambition. Ambition is a thing, and it feels good to be able to even a lot of times even me thinking, okay, if I put the stress on me, it'll take it off the shoulders of my loved one. So let me go ahead and put this work in and do what I got to do. And we wired like that. Um, biology and epigenetics and all these things lead to I want to be the one because I have these certain skills and these abilities and this access and this awareness to be able to take care of my loved ones in a certain way. And sometimes it is something that all the time, it's something that we have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be aware of my desire of ambition. I have to be aware of my desire to put other people first and to try to take these stressors on. Otherwise, it can start to come against me and go against me. So I think it's something that I enjoy and I like about myself. I also got to keep tabs on it, because like you said, growing up, it always, if you don't stay on the man gonna stay on you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to do what you got to do to stay out the way and keep going. So just keeping it going.
Yeah. You
Look,
King, you got something?
yeah, I got one more based on what James said. Of like I'll carry that stress, right?
Yeah.
I'll carry that burden, which I definitely respect and I think empathize with. In West African traditions and certain tribes, in order to become king, in order to become chief, you needed to be able. They put like ropes of gold on you,
Mhm.
and the man who can hold the most gold ropes on his body and not
Mhm.
break down would then become king. So when
Man.
we think about, like, when we look at rappers, when we look at a Nipsey,
Mhm.
chains, stress, weight. When we look at like how we operate, like we put on these chains, we put on these stresses for our families, thinking that the more weight that I can carry, the more of a man that I am, the more of a king that I can be for my family, for my wife, for my kids, for my parents. And I think again, subliminally, like things
Mhm.
just get passed down. They change, they shift based on the time that we're in. But I think those things still get passed down to where, a LeBron James or Jay-Z, they're carrying all the weight or most of the weight for their team, for their family, for their friends. And that's why they're kind of put up into a pedestal because they can handle that stress, because they can handle that weight.
100%. Yeah.
And I think, yeah, there's I can even think about, like, if you think that, like, the cultural side of things, like no sleeping, and if you sleep is for suckers, and like all those types of notions, I think that we buy into, I think, and are prevalent in the community too. Like, I sleep when I'm dead, like all those types of things that are prevalent in hashtags and songs and
Yeah.
wherever, I think are also, indoctrinated into our brains too, that like we have to be always doing something, because that sleeping, not doing, or that's, I think, a metaphor, right, for just not doing anything is
Right.
going to put you behind. So I think that that is also an interesting thing to be aware of, because I think that it's not
Mhm.
good or bad. It's not, I don't want to put a label on it, but it's something to be aware of, because it is something that can fuel you, right, to continue to thrive, to get better, to grind, and protect your family, all that stuff. But at a certain threshold, right, it can also start to deteriorate your health and make you, just kind of burn you out as well. So I think it's something to just be aware of. But it does transition nicely into another question. I do want to preface this. I did not come up with these questions, but I'm going to pose the question as it's written, because it is as I'll ask it, you're going to be like, what? Well, let me just ask this. Is Black culture unhealthy?
Mm. Lord of mercy.
Loaded question.
My first answer is no. Um, and then it's followed by parts of every culture are unhealthy when you, like, it's like everything, when you overindulge or when you expound, when you take it out of context, when you don't have the proper um, places around it, the proper pieces in place to really explore why those things are in the culture. It's just like we were talking about earlier. High blood pressure was needed for that time in those places, heart rates and these things. But when you pull it out of that context, it becomes unhealthy. So a lot of things have been extracted from Black culture and put on display as both Black culture in its totality, without the proper understanding the context of why this is here, what it was meant for, the other pieces to support it. It was just, oh, this is Black culture for us to eat these things, dance like this, look like this, have these type of things. So this is going to represent us, and then this is what we're going to dive into and explore the whole piece of. Like they talk about it all the time of how they identify. certain jewelry and things with black culture, like we just talked about. You can pull that out of culture, out of context, and just magnify that one piece and say, "Oh yeah, black people they always wearing jewelry. They can't afford the real house, but they got the jewelry and blah 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 blah." You just magnifying and pulling one thing out and you're losing all the context and parts of it. So no, black culture is not unhealthy. And yes, it has been exploited and misunderstood and just transformed and mutated by people outside of the culture and people who wanted to profit on these people parts of the culture. And now those parts have been unhealthy, become unhealthy.
Yep. And I think it's interesting to your point on like when things are kind of pulled out of context and a lot of things like we see them in the vacuum of the United States without
Mhm.
realizing that so many things do come back, right? They do all, not all, but a lot of things have roots back to the motherland. We just don't make that connection, or we're unaware that there is a connection. You know, there's so many things. Devon, I have heard you say that chain reference before on like, right, even that, like to your point, James, on a lot of people, yeah, they see that and they just think like, oh yeah, black people just like to be flashy, they just like to show their wealth, like all that stuff, without realizing that there's context to why that's even the case, right? That's strength, that's pride. um Thinking about like, I remember seeing a video on Instagram of a wedding, and the bride was dancing and people were throwing money, and I remember
Mhm.
going in the comments, and there, a lot of comments were just throwing a lot of hate on like, oh, just a typical, black people, blah blah blah. And it's like, that's a sign of respect,
Right.
right? Without realizing where that tradition, where that culture, where
Mhm.
that comes from, you can take that out of context and put whatever stereotypes you want onto it and come up with your own story. And unfortunately, that's what has happened for, I think, a lot of our cultural norms. But I think it is like you're saying, once you take things out of context, or once I think there are certain aspects of of the culture that may be exploited, like you say, that may be exploited and pushed onto the community more because maybe those don't lead to the best results, because, and I don't want to get too what's the word I'm looking for? Um
Hmm.
what's the word? Conspiracy theorist e.
Uh,
But right, I think we all know that like there are powers that be that don't want to see us win, right? So I think just keeping that in mind, whenever there is a negative stereotype put out there, about that black culture or anything like that, I think it's important to just keep that in mind. Like, where's the source? Where did this come from? What was their motive? I think there's always a motive, but I think I agree with you that inherently black culture is not unhealthy. It can be, right,
mhm.
consumed in a certain way, or only listening to certain artists, like that can put certain messages in your head, and it can lead to an unhealthy culture. But I don't think that it inherently is unhealthy. I think that it's all about what you do with it, how you take the messages, how you um at the end of the day, it's just culture is people's expressions of their reality.
Right.
So, that's all that it is. So I think we just need to take it for that. And yeah, I don't think that it's unhealthy. I think that it is something that we should be prideful of, right? It is us, it is our culture. And yeah, I think that that was a nice segue.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing that I want to talk about is earlier you
So,
mentioned. Oh, my bad, my
so
bad. Go ahead, hop in there.
yeah, Quinn, let me hop in on this question. It's gonna be a unpopular question, right? Or unpopular answer, I think. But black culture, in my opinion, is a derivative and a remix, right, of African culture,
Mhm.
right? We came here, and then whether it was enslaved Africans or free Caribbeans and Africans coming in here and just mixing all the cultures together and reacting to surviving in the context of where we are, right? Eating chitlins. We ate chitlins because that's what was given to us, right? Eating the leftover food. We ate what was given to us and we survived. And hundreds of years later, we're still eating the same foods that we were forced to eat out of survival, right? Not all foods, but some of the foods. Um, When we think about traditional African dance and we zoom that into what twerking looks like today, very similar. When we look at, what you said, you go to a Nigerian wedding, when you go to a black wedding, there's the money dance, we're throwing money. That's us practicing group economics in replacement of a traditional dowry, right? Before, when a,
Mhm.
a woman was marrying a son, the father of the wife would have to give a dowry, right? Here's a cow, here's some land, here's some money. Since you're going to take care of my daughter, here you go. In our tradition, maybe we didn't have the money for one person to give that full dowry. So now the whole family comes together in group economics to give that dowry all together. So
Right.
libations, right? When
Mhm.
we lose somebody, we pour one out for some of our dead homies, dead ancestors. That's the same thing as traditional libations. So I think, to y'all points, like black culture is a derivative and a remix of African culture. I think there are pieces of black culture that are inherently unhealthy for us. I do. I think there are pieces, including some of our diet, including some cultural things that we've done out of survival that are unhealthy because they're far removed from the source. And I think as we move back to the source, which includes meditation, includes yoga, includes changing how we eat, eating fresher foods, farming our own foods, which we used to do for years. I think as we move closer to the source and the derivative, then our community will also get healthier.
100%, man. You made me think about yams and sweet potato pies. Sweet potatoes, like yams, came from Africa, right? And the
Mhm.
word yam came from Africa. And they both, I love yams. They're good. But I grew up on sweet potato pies and yams and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's like you said, it started here and it came here. Sweet potato pie is not as healthy for you as a straight up yam.
Right.
And you just see the culture take those same terms where just in general, cane sugar is natural. But then when you bleach it, when you bleach it and process it
Yep.
and do all that stuff to it, then you're gonna have some issues. You're gonna have some problems. And black culture has been bleached. It has been processed.
Mm.
It has caused a whole lot of problems for people who needed it because the people who wanted to make money off of it did a certain thing to it. So yeah, black culture.
Black culture, still love the culture,
That's
but I
us.
think there's definitely some, like even Nipsey, right?
Mhm.
Great soul. But when like Nipsey is early years, 17, 18, he had a transformative moment where he went back to Eritrea.
He
He
did.
went back to the source, tapped into the culture. He saw how the women and children and the men all interacted together. He saw how the family came together, how they ate together. And he was like, this is different from home.
Right.
Like, this is different. How can I take this energy back? And that's when you see Nipsey then kind of dive into the community building, into the group economics, into ownership. He started taking his music seriously. And I
Mhm.
think if we can tap into that source more, whether it's reading a book, whether it's practicing yoga, whether it's taking a trip to a certain place in Africa, I think the more that we can tap back into our source, the more we can change our habits and our culture here in America.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I got to ask now. You said, what was your way of tapping into the source? Like, how did you get tapped in? Both of you, for both of you. Sorry, I just got to ask.
Yeah. So I think for me it was learning about Black history
Mhm.
and seeing that some of the things that I do are reactive to history.
Mhm. Okay.
Right. So I took my first, African American Studies course in UC Davis 2017. That's where I learned about Black Wall Street. So
Mhm.
just having in my mind, like, oh, dang, like we can own a city, first off, right? We
Right.
can own a city, we can build a city, we can do that. And then learning about Mansa Musa and how he was the richest or wealthiest man in the world, and he had an empire. So now in my head, it went from we can have a city
Mhm.
to we can have an entire empire, and an empire that does trade and business with the world. We can build schools, we can build roads, we can urbanize, and we can have a civilization that is built on Black excellence. And yes, a lot of people always say when I talk about Mansa Musa, like there were slaves and there were still bad things happening. 100%, right? Nobody's perfect. No civilization is perfect. Definitely not America. But I think learning about my own history for the first time, because K through 12 didn't learn about myself
Yep.
in a positive light. So I think learning positive images of me just put me into a Black history rabbit hole and made me want to yeah, just like strive for building a community, whether it's a business, a community, an empire. Really made me strive for something like that.
Cool, man. So
For me, I think it was a mixture of similar to Devon, um, really taking, African American studies classes in college was really the first time that I got to like spend an entire class learning about our people. That was very empowering. But I think it was more than just the classes for me. I think it was also the overall experience of
right.
one, we both lived on the black floor. Um, and we were both very intentional. And this was like always, even like before we were a thing, a couple of friends, like we were also just both very intentional about like being in the black spaces, being in the black orgs, and tapping in with the black people on UC Davis's campus. Um, I think that that experience in itself was was part of me tapping into the source because I was able to see. I growing up, I was always like the only black kid in class or one of two black kids in class. So I didn't really grow up around too much or too many black people, except for like of course, my family. So I
Mhm.
think being able to having that exposure to so much black excellence from like just meeting the freshmen, learning all of these other people who had a similar story as me, like, oh, you were the only black kid in your class too. Oh, look,
Mhm.
black excellence is around. Like, we're not alone. And then but also seeing like the seniors who were out there like having all of these prominent roles on campus, seeing how just excellent, right, excellent that they were, seeing the staff, the faculty, like I think that that's also part of what made me tap into the source. I'm like, we're dope,
Yeah.
we're dope. Let me tap more into this. Let me learn like how dope are we really, because we didn't learn about all this. I think like that's when I started to learn. I'm like, is someone trying to keep this from us? Because this is like that's when I started to be like, what? This is a lot different than how how I learned about us.
Right.
So I think that I think college in general, that 5 years of just being very surrounded by black excellence was me tapping into the source and kind of what made me um who I am now.
That's really dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to Xavier University of Louisiana, HBCU, and so yep, same thing. The black experience outside of my black experience growing up in Corona, California, just blew my mind,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with it.
I'm sure that was, yeah, especially Corona. That was probably a culture shock.
Definitely was.
Would you say that was your source as well?
That was it. Just
Yeah.
seeing the black experience, as you said, seeing black folks at every and any level of economics and social and political, just seeing black folks everywhere doing everything and being around other black folks who I saw eye to eye with, and then ones who I didn't, and ones who lived differently, and the ones who lived the same. And just seeing like, oh wow, we are a diverse people, and this is cool. So it was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we talked a lot about like being in having college being like that transformative experience, which is it's partly the reason that is because that we're not taught these types of things. We're not having this exposure growing up like in our youth. So what do you think, kind of bringing it back to health and well-being, what do you think should be taught in schools about health and well-being?
Exposure to what's out there, and then accountability, that you are really accountable for your health. So teaching people that, hey, you have a choice to make. You can eat these things, you can have these experiences with working out, with mindfulness, with meditation, with blah, 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 blah. Here's all these things. Here's all the choices that you have. And you have the power to make that choice. I think a lot of people turn their health over to the doctor or the trainer or the person who tells them they have to look good, the person that they tells them they have to eat this and this is what's into this is the new diet that's in or whatever. Like, nah, here's all the choices that are there for you. Now it's on you. You have to take accountability
Mhm.
for how your life is led. If you are not feeling the way you want to feel, how can you take accountability for it? Even if it's mental health, are you taking your medication? Are you going to see a therapist? And because I hear it a lot, people, oh man, this person did this to me, this person did that to me. And it's true. A lot of us have been victimized, but how can you be accountable for it? How can you learn what you need to learn? How can you let go of what you need to let go? How can you move forward and be accountable for your health?
Yes.
And people need to have that exposure to it, and that yeah, it's on you to be accountable for your health.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that is so important. And it is like, I think to your point, at a young age, I think we are learned to outsource our health, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything is go ask the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
everything. And to me, it even blows my mind how much things like even on like all the pharmaceutical commercials and everything is to go ask your doctor. Even when
Right.
it comes to like food, they're like, go ask your doctor. I'm like, doctors are not dietitians, they're not nutritionists. They don't learn about this. Why is everything go ask the doctor? We are so um just indoctrinated to
Mm-hmm.
defer our own health to we don't need to know anything, we don't need to do anything, we just need to go ask the doctor and do whatever they say. And I think that that is a mindset that I agree that we need to kind of get out of and take responsibility, take accountability for our own health, because to your point, we can't control what happens to us, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so and so they did you wrong, you lost your job, whatever happens, you can't control those things, but you can control what you do afterwards, what you do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the part that it's important to take accountability for is what happens after that. Um, and to your point on, you know, realizing that we do have one choices to make that are up, it's up to us to choose, how we want to eat, what type of are we getting exercise in, what type of exercise are we doing? Those are all choices that we have that do have consequences, positive, negative, whichever, depending on, that's going to depend on the choice, but that choice is yours. And I think it's important to draw the connection between the choice and the results and excuse me, bring the accountability back to the self.
Right.
I think that that is an important thing to kind of make that connection. I think that's one of the first things that got me on my health journey is like,
Mm-hmm.
let me just try something. Let me just like for me, the first thing for me and Devon, the first thing was like, okay, let's like, what happens if we just stop eating meat? What happens? And like we
Mm-hmm.
did that, we saw how we felt, and that just catapulted into all of these other decisions on
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what happens when, right? It's just that curiosity. I feel like we're not taught to be curious about our own bodies and try things out. And, we're not taught to meditate at a young age. I feel like we would be way better off as a society, if that was something that was taught. Um, yeah, so I think that that's so important, that accountability piece. And
Mm-hmm.
it's bringing up a meme or a quote, whatever, that I saw on Instagram one day, and it was in the heat of a lot of things that were happening with the pandemic and politics, um and it was like, I think this person, whoever wrote it, was probably upset with or frustrated with all of the mental health awareness type things that they were saying that they were seeing on Instagram. So they put like, no, I don't want to meditate or do yoga. I want the president to figure out how to blah 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 blah. And I read that and I was like, ah, I
Right.
hear you. I hear
Right.
you and I empathize with you that, there's a lot of things that you can't control and it's hard to feel helpless. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I think the mindset of like, no, I don't need to meditate. I don't need to do all of these things. I need for someone else. What I need is for someone else to do this. You're
Ooh.
completely letting go of all of the control. You are giving away all of your power. You are giving
Right.
away all of your everything to someone else that you have no control over. To me, that's scary because in the world we live in, you never know what someone's going to do. You never know what these politics, what anybody is going to do. So put outsourcing your health, outsourcing your any type of your health to someone else is a scary thought. So I think it's important to have that accountability on like, okay, the world is doing this, but what am I going to do? What am
Right.
I how am I going to react? So, yeah.
That's that's huge, Sinclair, because it is people. I get annoyed sometimes too because I already know it, but there's still millions of people who don't know this information. So before people can be accountable, they have to have that exposure. I always say awareness, access, then application. If you are not aware of all these tools and all these things that are out there to help your health, you're not going to know. And if you are aware and you don't know how to access them, you don't know how
Mhm.
to bring them into your life, you don't know how to make them a part of your life and start to apply them, then we still looking outside for somebody to take control. And that's the scariest thing when you looking to outsource your thinking. Even I need somebody to think for me. Tell me
Right.
who I need to pay for this. Tell me who I go to war against. Tell me who's the enemy. Tell me. And that's the scariest thing that's going on, where you can look on the internet and you can find what you need to be thinking about and how you need to be thinking. And people are falling into that. So for people to so let's constantly put out health stuff. Let's constantly inform people of the options that they have to make the best decisions that they can make. I made a lot of stupid decisions because I thought that was the only decision I had.
Mm.
So if you continuously giving me information and giving me knowledge, that empowers me to make the right decision for myself. But if you taking away that decision from me and constantly telling me, hey man, stop at McDonald's and that's the way we do it. It killed me when black folks say, oh, we don't do that. That ain't how we do it. That ain't
Oh yeah.
What you mean that ain't how we do it? Are you trying to live? Are you trying to experience this life to its totality? Or are you just trying to stay in this small bubble because you're scared?
Mm.
Stop being scared. Take a breath. Pray on it. Meditate. Do what you got to do, and go ahead
Mhm.
and try something different. Try something. Be open and have that exposure. And I know I probably was the same when I was younger. Before I had the opportunity to experience to see black folks doing whatever they wanted to do, however they wanted to do it, and that just
Yep.
that expands the culture. So, and like I said, I come back to y'all and appreciate y'all for offering these courses and this information and doing this work. And this is really clarifying for me as I say this. Like, yes, it matters that you put out the videos. Yes, it matters that you put out the courses. It matters that you speak your piece on this. It don't matter if you don't get the thumbs up, you don't get the like. It don't matter if you the money gonna come. But it don't matter if the money ain't there up front. If you got some solid information that can help somebody, you are going against a lot of times the information that they don't have that is not
Mhm.
helping them. So it's huge, it's critical, it's important to get that information out there. So I thank you, and Devon for putting this stuff out there and getting out there. And that is my pod. I don't call it soapbox anymore. I call it a podcast. You can monetize a podcast, but not a soapbox.
Good point. I like that. And you brought up so many good points, but um I think that when you think about, to your point on like, put out the video, right? You got to put it out,
Without,
because if you think about your own life, I think about myself, how many times I've been scrolling past just the most random post, but it's probably the seventh time I've seen something like that. And I'm finally like, let me go see what this is about. Right?
mm-hmm.
It may be the most random thing. I was on my explore page. It's like the 13th time I've seen it. And I'm just like, okay, let me just go ahead and click on this, right? You can be that 13th click for some other person, right? Yeah, it may
Yeah,
not get a million views, but everything is out there. You never know what is going to resonate with someone. You
yeah,
never know what message is going to hit somebody at the right time in the right moment,
right,
right? They can hear something yesterday at 3 p.m. and it went out in their ear, out their other. And then something happened to them that evening. Now they're rethinking things. You hit them with that same message the next day and it can change their whole life. Like, you
right.
never know what message can resonate with somebody at a certain time. One.
Mm-hmm.
Two, to your point on like, when you're putting this stuff out into the world, it is oftentimes gonna feel opposition or like radical. It's gonna feel radical, right? Because it is just different from the norm that is put out there. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's interesting that we are in a time to where, oddly, right, being taking that proactive approach to your health, whether it's just, eating a healthy life, right? You're vegan.
No.
Oh, you're not vegan. Okay. I thought I thought I heard you say
Yeah.
you were earlier, but either way, just I think the fact that you eat healthy, like some people see that as like weird, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna be like, why are you doing that, right? The fact that you may exercise every day, you meditate, you do yoga, right? There are people out there that may think that that's weird,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something to just, I think, get comfortable with, right? The fact that unfortunately, because we are in a society where a lot of the norms, the cultural norms, the fast food, the binging on Netflix, all that stuff, they can lead to kind of unhealthy lifestyles. The
Hmm.
opposite of that, the hey, make sure you're eating to live, hey, make sure you're getting that daily movement, seems radical, even though it's really just what our bodies expect us to do, right? It's what our bodies are made to do. So I think that for anybody out there who is also doing this work, who is trying to put that word out there, you're trying to talk to your friends, your family members, trying to get them on that health journey, don't be surprised if you are met with some a little bit of opposition, right? Because it is outside of the norm.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it's any less valid, that it's any less important for you to put that information out there. So that's
Right.
kind of the last piece I wanted to walk away with is just, you know, health is it's everything. It's important. It is the foundation for life. It is something that we all need to be taking very seriously, even though it is not the easiest thing to talk about, to to do in society. Like it's not unfortunately easy to live a healthy life in today's society. You got
Yeah.
to kind of put yourself outside of the norm. The norm may be again to sit at home and eat it, binge on Netflix and order something on Postmates. It's become so easy to
Hmm.
do nothing.
Right.
And but we really have to just make sure that you are taking the time to, you know, close your blinds, take a second to sit quietly. You may have to be intentional about silencing things around you because again, that's part of the norm, right? You got your phone dinging, you got your computer on that's going to send you all
Hmm.
these emails. There's all these distractions. So take some intentional time to pull away from those distractions, be with yourself for a couple of minutes every day, eat well, get your body moving, talk to your loved ones, find some passion in your life, and just make sure that you are doing something every day to empower yourself to feel better, to live a healthy life. So I'm gonna pass it back over to you, James, if you have any parting words for our Black Future Month health roundtable guests.
Yeah, check me out, www.datyogadud.com. And I'm going to drop it in the chat. We just put out in the comments or in the chat, we just put out a meditation work with my boy Mike Brown, who does have a dope podcast called The Art of Letting Go. It is a guided meditation
Love that.
with some music, and we break down how meditation. So we just make it easier for you to take that pause and help you build the day. We know stress is real, but this is a meditation that's going to help you. Throw another gold rope on your neck, throw another gold chain on your chest, on your neck, on your chest, man, to help you step into your kingdom, your queendom, whatever it is, to navigate that stress and come back to your true authentic self. So the the meditation project that we came with, and go ahead and go to the website and check out all the amazing things that we do. And we got that, and we have, yep, that's the meditation project, complete audio
Love it.
meditation series. We got more coming out, and courses and everything like that. So I can't wait to work with y'all and get some information out to the people. But yep, that yoga dude at all the social media outlets. D as in dog, A as in apple, T as in Tom, yoga dude, that yoga dude. Y'all already know. Thank you so much, Black Future Month, for having me on here. I appreciate y'all. And as always, feel free and namaste.
I love it. I love it. Yes, and we'll try to hopefully we can get the link included in with this recording that gets sent out. But good that we got to show it on here. Definitely tap into that guided meditation. I think that I love that it's guided because I think meditation can be a little bit daunting when you think about it first. Like,
Hmm.
how do I start? What do I do? So I started out with guided meditations. I think it's a great introduction into the world of just sit there, listen, and just absorb. So I think that that's a great. If you've never done meditation, you don't know where to start, here you go. This is your sign. This is your sign to go ahead and start. Head to that website, get your guided meditation, and just start. That's the only way you'll know. How to do it, how to get better, how it feels. That is a choice you can make. We talked about choices earlier, so
Yeah.
choose to go ahead and get started on your meditation journey because it will be life changing. Okay, so thank you again. I do have a couple just concluding slides that I want to go through here, Jair, when you're ready. And it's really just we've been talking a lot about health in a kind of a holistic kind of mindset. So what I've taken here is like, okay, if we had to break it down into 6 things, right?
Mm.
Six aspects of health that can create a really holistically healthy lifestyle. What would those 6 things be? So I'm going to go through those really quickly here. As a summary for anybody who's wondering, like, what do I do next, right? We've already got the guided meditation. Love that. If you're looking for some other things to do, like how do I live a healthier lifestyle, stick around for about 15 minutes. Join me here. So we're going to talk about 6 ingredients to a healthy life. These first couple slides I'm going to go through really quickly because we've already talked a lot about this throughout this conversation. But when I say health, I'm not just talking about lack of disease or illness. That is not true health to me. That's an aspect, but it's not true health. True health to me is experiencing that vigor in your mind, body, and soul. It's waking up feeling ready, feeling like you know your purpose, you are living your purpose, and it's really going to be a mixture of all of this 5 of the 6 other things that we're going to talk about in a second. But I just wanted to make sure that when I say health, this is what I mean. And then lastly, before I jump into number 1, is that there is no one size fits all approach to health. So what works for one person, right? Even down to like a specific diet may work for one person and may not work for the other person. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with either of the people. That just means they have unique bio individual needs. And so to me, what the health journey is experimenting, is figuring out what is going to be the best for your body, what is going to foster the best health for your body. And it is a very individual journey. So keep that in mind too, that everything that I say is you're going to have to do a little bit of experimentation for yourself to figure out what's going to be the best for you. Let's go into number 1. Number 1 of the 6 ingredients to living a healthy life is nutrition. We have talked about that a little bit here. We touched on it a little bit. But to me, nutrition is arguably one of the most important inputs variables to your health, because it is literally the fuel that you are providing your vehicle, right? Your body. It is fueled from the food that you put into your mouth. Not only that, but the food that you put into your mouth makes up your body, right? Your body uses that fuel to like for your cells, for your immune system, for your skin, for your organs. Like all of that is made up of the food you eat. So that phrase, like you are what you eat, there is a lot of truth to that. So it's a very important, right? You have a robust immune system, consistent energy. You can reduce the likelihood of chronic illness and disease if you eat to foster that well-being. So some habits: eating whole foods. And when I say whole foods, that's basically anything that has not been highly processed. So that's your fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, quality meat. So if you do eat meat, make sure you're eating, pasture raised chicken. And this is if this is possible, right? I do believe that if you have the means to invest in your health, so that may be buying the chicken that's a few dollars more. If you're able to do that, then go ahead and make that decision because it's an investment. It's an investment into your health. So things like wild caught fish, that pasture raised chicken, grass fed beef, those are the really quality meats, whole grains, anything that is as close to its source on this earth as possible, right? You want to minimize processed foods as much as possible. I know they may have their place with quick and convenience, but for most of your diet, if you can make it whole foods, then you're going to notice a very big difference and your body's will thank you for it. And then eat the right foods for you, right? If they say milk is good for your bones, if you don't like how you feel after you drink milk, then don't drink milk. It's really honoring your own body and how a lot of us have individual, right? We may have food sensitivities, we may have intolerances that we also need to honor. And, don't eat a food just because someone said to. Make sure that you are honoring how your body feels when you eat that. And then stay hydrated, of course. Okay. Moving on to number 2 in the 6 ingredients to live a healthy life: movement. Our bodies expect us to move on a daily basis. They're made to move, right? We've got fingers, we've got elbows, we've got all of these joints because we are made to move. And if you think about how our bodies are even designed before cars, like we walked everywhere. So walking is one of the, I think, most underrated exercises that I think we need to get back to. We need to get out and we need to get walking. Walking is so underrated and it has so many, good health benefits. So, benefits of movement, you got mobility, being able to move your body for as long as possible. That is one of my biggest goals, is to be able to like actively play with my great grandkids. I want to be able to move my body enough to be able to play with my great grandkids. That's my goal. So mobility is huge for me. Detoxification, your body is able to get rid of the toxins through your lymph fluids when you're moving your body. But if you're just sitting there, there's nowhere for anything to go. And then better mood, right? There are hormones. You've got your serotonin, that dopamine that is released when you move your body. You feel better. I think most of us can remember a time when maybe we didn't feel like working out, but we force ourselves anyways, and then we thank ourselves later because we felt better afterwards. There's a reason for that. There are chemical reactions happening in the body when you're moving it that make you feel better. So some habits. Find an activity that you enjoy. That's like my biggest thing when it comes to movement. Find something you enjoy. If you don't like running, then maybe running a mile every day is not the best activity for you. But if you love to dance, go find a dance class or just turn on some music and dance around in your kitchen. Just move your body. It does not have to be in a traditional like lifting weights or going to the gym setting. It's just moving your body. That's all you need to do. Surfing, like whatever you like to do, go ahead and make that a part of your routine. And then focus on consistency rather than intensity. That's another one for me. Another big one is focus on choosing movements that you can do consistently rather than being really hot and then really cold another week. I think it's better to be lukewarm every week than to be hot, cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold all over the place. So that's kind of my piece on movement. Number 3, we're halfway done with the 6 ingredients to lead a healthy life. That's stress management, which we did talk a lot about today. We can't control what life throws at us, but we can control how we react to it. It's imperative that we all take a couple of minutes to just be with ourselves and in whatever form that looks like to you. It can be a walking meditation, it can be a prayer, it can be just a moment of silence, it can be breathing, it can be a guided meditation. There are so many different ways to just connect with yourself and with your center. I think it's important to do that even for just a couple minutes. If all you have is 3 minutes, that's perfect. Take advantage of those 3 minutes. Some of the benefits are healthy blood pressure levels, hormone balance, reduce likelihood of chronic illness and disease. Some habits you can adopt. One, you can go get the guided meditation by James, aka that yoga dude. You can practice abdominal breathing, which is just breathing from the abdomen. So the easiest way to know whether you're breathing from your chest or from your abdomen is to put your hands on your stomach. Take a deep breath in. You should actually feel your stomach protrude out a little bit. If you don't, that means you're probably breathing up here, and you just put some focus into breathing from your abdomen. Finding a meditation that practice that resonates with you. So again, if you're just starting out, a guided meditation online is a great way to start, and get out into nature. That's another great habit. Our bodies react to things like sunlight, to things like walking on the earth. Our bodies react to that. And again, it releases hormones that improve our mood. So it's very important to get out there, get outside, whatever that looks like to you. I think it's also important. Number 4, sleep, which we just talked about briefly. And the truth is that you can do everything right, but if you aren't getting adequate sleep, you will not see sustained results. Sleep is super important. I think it's underrated as well. It's our time. It's our body's time to restore. It's our body's time to, file away all of our memories. It's our body's time to build our muscles, repair cells. Like it's our body's time to burn fat. There's so much that happens when you're sleeping that you're cheating yourself out of if you don't get a good night's sleep. So some benefits: sustained energy, a robust immune system. Right, when you're sick, what is the thing that most people do when they're sick? Sleep. And that is the body's response. The body is telling you, sit down, take a rest, let me repair, let me heal you. I can't do that if you out, moving all over the place. Take a break, let me repair, let me fight this virus, whatever's going on inside, so that you can feel better. Fat loss and muscle repair also benefits. So some habits you can adopt is one, keeping a consistent sleep schedule as much as possible. And if you can go to sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., there are a lot of studies that show that you can get the average adult gets the most deep sleep during those hours. So that's a really good time to be going to sleep, is around 10 p.m. Avoid screens 1 hour before bed, or wear blue light blocking glasses. So anytime you're looking at a screen, it's emitting a light that can decrease the amount of melatonin that your body produces. Melatonin is a sleep hormone. We want that when it's time to go to sleep. We want levels of melatonin to rise. So if they don't, that can lead to sleep issues. It can lead to you having difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep. And then avoid working or studying in bed. I'm guilty of this. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's something that I do try to limit. And that's just so that your brain recognizes that sleep is time, and that the bed means sleep, and that the bed does not mean eating or, studying or whatever. If your brain knows bed, when I see the bed, it's time to sleep, you're going to have an easier time falling asleep. Number 5, we are almost done here, is relationships. Okay, you may not have seen this one coming, but I do believe that it is a huge part of leading a healthy life. And that's because making and maintaining meaningful connections with other people is a part of living a healthy and balanced lifestyle. We are social beings. We are meant to live in groups, right? Even think about, like, we have families. We kind of conglomerate in our families. But even if you think about like tribes, like, we naturally kind of form groups and villages. That's how we survive. That's how we've adapted to survive. So it is an important thing to connect with other people. And in 2022, that may be jumping on a Zoom call with your family. That's fine. And that in-person connection is definitely still important, but however you can get that connection in, it's important to just connect with your loved ones, have that meaningful connection on a regular basis. And some of the benefits are a better mood, networking, and improved mental health. Some habits are get in an accountability group or a partner. Like, if you got a goal, it literally doesn't matter what the goal is. It can be business related, it can be health related, fitness related. Just having an accountability group or a partner. That's one kind of built-in way that you can connect with people while still making sure that you're grinding, getting to your goal, getting to that bag. Um, Avoid or limit interaction with energy drainers. This is a big one. If you notice that when you talk to certain people, you feel drained afterwards, right? If you're talking to people that aren't filling your cup, then it's important to make sure that that's not the majority of your conversations, right? Limit those conversations, just so that you can also make sure that you have enough energy to support you and to do what you need to do. And then focus on quality over quantity. So just because you may have thousands of, Instagram friends, doesn't mean that you have quality relationships in your life. Definitely make sure that you have quality connections, right? People that you can go to when you need help, right? When you've hit a block, like, who do you call? Who is someone that, whether it's good news or bad news, like, who can you connect with to really be vulnerable, to share those successes, those failures, to cry, to hug, to celebrate with? Make sure that you have those quality connections. It's super, super important. And lastly, purpose and passion, the 2 P's. I think that these are in a key piece to living a healthy life. Living a purpose driven life has been shown to help folks live happier and longer. There is a study that actually done that showed that people who have some type of purpose, who feel some type of connection to the people around them, to being on this earth, tend to live longer. And this can be anything from, just being a father, right? If that is what you wake up, and if that is your fuel, if that is your why when you wake up every single day, then you have that purpose, you have that connection. It can be, hey, I go volunteer at a homeless shelter down the street, and I'm giving back someone, I'm making an impact on this world. It can be literally whatever gives you those warm and fuzzies inside. So that's it. Some benefits are sustained fulfillment. Again, that feeling that like I'm doing something on this earth. I am here for a reason and I'm fulfilling that. Having a better mood. Have you ever given someone a gift and then not been happy afterwards? I know that sounds weird, but there's something really great about putting a smile on someone else's face, right? Or doing something good for someone else, even if they don't know it's you. Just that feeling of like, wow, I did something to bring someone else happiness, right? That's that better mood I'm talking about. And then resiliency. Um, so some habits, incorporate something that you are passionate about into your routine. So again, this can be I really like soccer, so I go and play soccer with my friends on Saturdays. This can be, I love trains, so I have a train collection. This can be Pokemon cards. This can be painting, drawing, your kids. This can be whatever you want, but incorporate something that you are passionate about. Dance, sewing, knitting, does not matter. Incorporate it into your routine. Another habit is to make your why visible in your space. So again, like whatever gets you up in the morning, whether that's your family, whether that's your business, whether that's just a mission, a goal that you have in life, write it down, make it visible in your space. Whether that's the background on your phone, whether it's put it on the fridge, someplace you know you're going to go every day, that is another way to make sure that you are grounded every single day and you're reminded every single day of your purpose and your passion. And then lastly, something that can help you if you're struggling with like, I literally don't know my purpose and I don't have any passions. Most of us have, I think everybody has some passion. Maybe we haven't tapped into it yet. So one of the things that you can do if you're struggling with this is reflect on what you enjoyed as a kid. You think about as when we're children, we don't have all the life stressors and we haven't been tainted by by life, by heartbreak, but all of these things that happen once you grow in a natural part of life. But we're very innocent and we gravitate towards what we love, really, no matter what anybody's thinking, right? So whether that's Barbie dolls or trains or cards, like whatever, doing hair. Like I used to have a little Barbie doll with like the hair and I used to do her hair. Ironically, because I don't like to do my hair now. But that can be something that that can help you tap into something that you're passionate about or something that you were passionate about that may still be an underlying passion for you that you just haven't done in a while. So that's another little tip you can do if you're like, I have no passion, Sinclair. Okay, so those are the 6 things. I didn't want to make this long, but if that kind of if you were to ask me what are 6 things I can do to make sure that I lead a healthy life, these are the 6 things. These are the takeaways. Focus on nutrition, get some movement in, make sure you're managing your stress on a daily basis, get good sleep, maintain good relationships, and make sure that you have some type of purpose or passion in your life. If you focus on these things and you don't have to do them all at once, right? Maybe start with one and the rest will come. We're on a marathon here, right? Talking about Nipsey. Life is a marathon. It is not a destination. This is an ongoing journey. So just start with one and the rest will come. So thank you again for joining this Black Health Roundtable, the Black Future Month first event of 2022. Very happy to have been able to facilitate today's conversation, although there wasn't too much I had to say because I had 2 great guests and the conversation really just flowed naturally. So thank you to James, thank you to Devon for joining the conversation. If you want to keep in touch with me, I have my website, queencoaching.com. And I also am on Instagram at the Health Nerd. Those are 2 ways that you can get in contact with me. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So I do have health coaching services. Right now, I have a 90-day weight loss formula that is a holistic program that is for anybody out there who's trying to release some of that excess weight. And yeah, we're not counting calories. We're not starving ourselves. That's not what we're doing. We are fostering that really good, robust health, right? That's what my goal is from this program. So we're best believe all 6 things that we talked about here are things that we're going to talk about in this program. So the first step, if you're interested in that, is to go to queen2queencoaching.com and book a discovery call with me, which is a quick 30-minute call while we'll just talk about the program, making sure that you're right for the program, make sure the program is right for you. So I'm not one that's just going to take your money. I want to make sure that I'm going to actually be able to help you. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and head to the website. Otherwise, if you have any questions about anything or you just want to tap in and say hi, definitely give me a follow on Instagram at the Health Nerd, and I'll be happy to follow you back. But thank you all for joining me today. Again, I appreciate, you taking out whenever you're watching this. I know it's Saturday here for us. I'll pass it back over to the king here to wrap us up. But thank you very
Yes,
much.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for leading, Queen. Much appreciated. And of course, James, that yoga dude. Thanks for coming through. Make sure y'all follow James at that yoga dude. And want to give you opportunity, any websites or that. Boom. Come on, man. We got a beautiful, amazing team in the background. Thank you, Jay. But make sure y'all go to thatyogadude.com. Great speaker, great at engaging folks. Events, make sure y'all tap in and show some love to James over there. But as Sinclair said, we do have more Black Future Month events happening. So definitely make sure y'all stay tapped in. We'll show those on the screen in a second. But again, we have a roundtable on education coming up. We have Black Wealth going to be led by Josiah Greer from the FYB Fire Your Boss team. We also got the Black Love Roundtable coming up. So make sure y'all stay tapped in. The components of IMI, in case you forget, we do have courses available. We have live events available. And of course, later on, we're going to be doing our incubator program. So if you're interested in getting more information about IMI and Black Future Month, make sure y'all go to imifoundation.com. Check out the courses we have available, and let's all do our small part. All right, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's being a parent, whether it's being a scholar and a student. I think we all have our place. We all have our responsibility in creating the Black future. Right. So tap in with us and show us or discover what your part and responsibility is. But we appreciate you, and we will catch you at the next one. Peace.